Stephen Lee. Steve Cropper is an American guitarist, songwriter, and record producer. He is best known as the guitarist of the Stax Records house band, Booker T. and the MGs, and has backed artists such as Otis Redding, Sam and Dave, Carla Thomas, Rufus Thomas and Johnnie Taylor, also acting as producer on many of these records. He later gained fame as a member of the Blues Brothers band. Rolling Stone lists him 39th on their list of the 100 greatest guitarists of all time. Mojo ranks Cropper as the second best guitarist ever. His nickname is the Colonel. Early life: when he was 9 years old, Cropper moved with his family to Memphis, Tennessee. At the age of 10, he strummed his brother-in-law's Gibson guitar for the first time. Cropper received his first guitar by mail order at 14 and started playing with local musicians. His guitar heroes at the time included Loman Pauling of the Five Royales, as well as Chet Atkins, Chuck Berry, Tal Farlow, Jimmy Reed, and the guitarist of the Bill Doggett Band, Billy Butler. Career: Cropper and guitarist Charlie Freeman formed the Royal Spades, who eventually became the Marquis. The name referred to the marquee outside Stax Studios, known as Satellite Records at the time. Eventually the Marquis began playing on sessions and had a hit single of their own with Last Night in 1961. Besides being impressed with the young guitarist's playing, Stax Records president Jim Stewart saw professionalism and maturity beyond Cropper's years. When American Records founder Chip Moman left Stax, Cropper became the company's A&R man. He became a founding member of the Stax house band Booker T. and the MGs, along with Hammond organ player Booker T. Jones, bassist Donald Duck Dunn and drummer Al Jackson Jr. As a house guitarist, he played on many recordings such as Sittin' On, The Dock of the Bay, co-written with and performed by Otis Redding, and Sam and Dave's Soul Man, on which he was mentioned by name. When Cropper played on the song's remake by the Blues Brothers, lead singer John Belushi again mentioned Cropper. At this time Cropper's fame was not limited to the United States. The Beatles favored Cropper's playing, and his production on Otis Redding records. John Lennon and Paul McCartney made tentative plans to record in Memphis, and to work with the guitarist. However, Brian Epstein cancelled the sessions, citing security problems. Regarding this period, Rob Bowman, in his book Soulsville USA: The Story of Stax Records, quoted Booker T. Jones as saying, along with influential work with Booker T. and the MGs, Cropper co-wrote Knock on Wood with Eddie Floyd, In the Midnight Hour with Wilson Pickett and Sittin' On, The Dock of the Bay with Otis Redding. In 1969, Cropper released his first solo album, With a Little Help from My Friends. When Cropper left Stax in the fall of 1970, the label lost one of its most successful producers and songwriters. Cropper then set up TMI Studios with Jerry Williams and former Marquis Ronnie Stutz. There he played guitar and produced various musicians including Tower of Power, Rod Stewart, John Prine, Joseph Copyright Feliciano, the Jeff Beck Group, Ringo Starr and John Lennon. It's little known that Cropper also played guitar on the cover of the Velvet Underground's Femme Fatale that appears on fellow Memphians Big Star's Third Sister Lovers. By 1975, Cropper had moved to Los Angeles and along with Jackson and Dunn, reformed Booker T. and the MGs. Jackson, whom Cropper called the greatest drummer to ever walk the earth, was murdered in his Memphis home before the group could make their comeback. In 1978, Cropper and Dunn became members of Levin Helm's RCO All-Stars, and then went on to figure prominently in the Blues Brothers band with the drummer Willie Hall. This led to 2 albums and 2 movie soundtracks. Cropper also re-recorded Sittin' On, The Dock of the Bay for Sammy Hagar. Cropper lived in Los Angeles for the next 13 years before moving to Nashville and reuniting with the Blues Brothers band in 1988. Cropper has a cameo in the Weird Al Yankovic mockumentary The Complete Al, where he plays a bit of Soul Man in an unsuccessful attempt to join Al's band. In 1992, Booker T. and the MGs were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and Cropper appeared with a new lineup of the group for the Bob Dylan 30th anniversary concert, on October 1992 at Madison Square Garden, performing songs by and backing Dylan, Eric Clapton, George Harrison, Tom Petty, Johnny Cash, Chrissy Hind, Shiner. Copyright Ed O'Connor, Stevie Wonder and Neil Young. The concert was recorded and later released as the 30th anniversary concert celebration. Young later recruited this lineup of Booker T and the MGs to tour with him and record as his studio band. In 1996, Cropper was named the greatest living guitar player by Britain's Mojo magazine. When asked what he thought of Cropper, the guitarist Keith Richards said, "Perfect, man." In February 1998, Cropper released Play It, Steve, which included some of soul music's most enduring songs. The album title came from the shout of the title phrase by Moore on Sam and Dave's Soul Man, and later by John Belushi. In June 2004, Cropper appeared with Dunn and Jones as the backing band for Eric Clapton's Crossroads Guitar Festival, held at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. Others who appeared included Joe Walsh and David Hidalgo. On June 9, 2005, Cropper was inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame. He co-produced the Memphis album, recorded by Australian soul singer Guy Sebastian. Cropper also played guitar on the following promotional tour, which was recorded and released 2 years later as the Memphis Tour. On March 2, 2008, Cropper and Sebastian were guests on the Vegas Sunday session with host Mark Gable from the rock band The Choir Boys. On July 29, 2008, Cropper and Felix Cavaliere released the album Nudge It Up a Notch. In August 2008, Cropper appeared at the Rhythm Festival alongside the Animals. On November 12, 2009, EMPS FM presented Cropper with their Founders Award. On October 17, 2010, Cropper was inducted into the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame. On August 9, 2011, Cropper released the album Dedicated, which was his tribute to the Five Royales. In 2013 he was a special guest at selected concerts as part of Peter Frampton's Guitar Circus Tour, including the first performance which featured Frampton, Robert Cray and Vince Gill. In April 2013, Cropper appeared with Jones and Matt Guitar Murphy as Booker T and the MGs at Eric Clapton's 4th Crossroads Guitar Festival at Madison Square Garden in New York City. Personal life: Cropper married his second wife, Angel, in the late 1980s. They have 2 children named Andrea and Cameron. The Croppers currently live in Tennessee. Discography: 1971, With a Little Help from My Friends, 1981, Playin' My Thang, 1982, Night After Night, 1991, Jammed Together, 2007, This Is Steve Cropper and His Friends, 2008, Nudge It Up a Notch, 2010, Midnight Flyer, 2011, Dedicated a salute to the Five Royales. Filmography: 1980, The Blues Brothers as Himself, 1988, Satisfaction as Soul, 1999, Blues Brothers 2000 as Himself, 2008, Be Kind Rewind as Himself. References. External links: official website, the official Steve Cropper MySpace page,